There's a quiet kind of courage that doesn't tuck a backup plan under its sleeve. It looks ordinary from a distance, someone choosing work that feels like a calling rather than safety, but up close it feels radical. The hook is simple. When you stop rehearsing the exit, you begin to fully enter the stage. That shift clears the fog. It does not remove fear, but it changes its function. Fear becomes information to guide your next move, not a reason to stall. I stopped believing in Plan B not because I had a map, but because I wanted to learn what focus actually costs and what it yields. At first it was messy. I had to be honest about what I wanted, which meant naming both the dream and the smallest version of it I could live with. That naming is an experience in itself. The 4E method helps make sense of the scramble. Begin with experience, do the work, and record what happens. Don't romanticize the grind, but don't shrink from it either. Next, practice empathy by listening to the people who care about you. Their doubts are data, not verdicts. Then educate, study the craft, learn the rules so you can bend them deliberately. Finally, execute, build momentum with repeatable actions. People confuse refusing Plan B with gambling. It is not the same. There's a practical scaffold behind the choice. Instead of annihilating contingency, reduce its role gradually. Make decisions that tilt the scales toward your main path. Let your calendar and wallet reflect your priorities. Work on small, consequential tasks daily. Celebrate micro wins and study failures. Stoic thinking helps focus energy on what you can control, accept the rest. That reduces panic and preserves clarity. Balance matters. Saying no to Plan B is not a prescription for grim single-mindedness. It is a call to balance depth and playfulness. Seriousness without levity becomes a burden. Curiosity without focus becomes a distraction. Combine both. Schedule time to explore aimless ideas, then return to the work that defines your course. Play invites experimentation and softens the sting of setbacks. This is the paradox of commitment. The more you commit, the more freedom you often feel, because attention stops scattering. Emotion fuels commitment. When you choose one path wholeheartedly, you mobilize sources of meaning that a safety-first approach cannot reach. Resilience is not heroic mysticism, it is accumulated practice. You train it by choosing again, by reconciling ambition with constraints, and by using criticism as data rather than a death sentence. In my case, the second year felt like a slow grind with tiny payoffs. I doubted myself constantly, but the practice of returning to work, measuring what changed, and refining small experiments eventually shifted momentum. Keep coming back to the work, let time show the results. There is no perfect timing for this choice. There is only the readiness to try to fail, to learn, and to try again. If you want to be practical, treat refusal of Plan B as a disciplined experiment rather than a vow of inflexibility. Set rules, measure progress, and allow curiosity to push you into playful, low-risk failures that teach faster than comfort ever could. There's a moment, often quiet, when the world tests your decision. Problems arrive in practical forms: money, relationships, deadlines. They are not dramatic tests of character. They're the daily reality of anyone who chooses to commit. The emotional trick is to stop treating these moments as evidence that you're foolish. Instead, look at them as signals. This is the heart of the PAS approach. Identify the problem, acknowledge the agitation, and then move toward solution. Naming the problem clears the path to an intentional response. When I felt the pressure mounting, I asked a simple question: what can I control right now? The answer was always a small action. The Stoics called this focusing on the sphere of influence. It is not glamorous, but it keeps you present. Practical steps followed. I set a weekly review. I tracked 3 metrics that mattered. I talked to 2 people who had walked similar paths and asked blunt questions. I kept a log of experiments and their outcomes. This is where educate and execute come together. The philosophical piece is not theoretical. When Epictetus said it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them, he provided a tool. Reframe failure as information. Reframe delay as recalibration. That reframing does not make hardship disappear, but it changes the story you tell yourself at 3 in the morning. Curiosity, again, is the antidote to paralysis. Ask a playful question about your work once a week. What if the worst outcome taught you your best lesson? What if a tiny failure pointed to an unseen opportunity? Balance also shows up in relationships. Telling those close to you that you have no plan B is a vulnerable act. They might be afraid for you. Listen. Give them room to express concern. Use empathy to translate fear into specific worries you can address. Offer them a role that fits their strengths or explain the practical steps you are taking. Do not weaponize your choice into an excuse for neglect. Commitment without care becomes hollow. It helps to be specific about trade-offs. Name the trade-offs: clearly sleep, social life, income stability. Decide which are temporary. Decide how long you will allow the discomfort to continue before reassessing. This is not a promise to bail at the first sign of trouble. It is a contract with yourself. Measure honestly and be willing to iterate. The refusal of plan B should come with rules, not with denial. Playfulness deserves its own defense. People imagine that total commitment must be austere. That is not true. Play widens possibility. It fuels creativity and creates safe space to fail cheaply. Schedule moments of curiosity. Keep friendships that make you laugh and projects that refresh you. If this resonates, do one concrete thing. Now, write a single sentence that names the core reason you care about this work. Below it, list one practical action you can complete this week. Share that in the comments. Tell us what scares you about removing Plan B and what excites you. Your experience matters. When we talk candidly, we learn faster. Join the conversation and let this be a beginning rather than an endpoint.